The champ boats will be racing when we come back right after this. Big crowd has turned out, beautiful weather, and we're getting ready for action now. And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Welcome back to International Outboard Grand Prix Boat Racing. Our site, Baltimore, Maryland. The class, the champ. These are the super fast boats that rip around this course at about 130 miles an hour plus. Let's go down now to dockside. My colleague there, the expert, Walt Yarbrough.
It was Mike Seabold of Bud Light Racing qualifying at 124 miles an hour here in Baltimore. But can he keep that kind of pace for 50 laps? Only time will tell. There's 6 top qualifiers, all over 115 miles an hour, up to 124. There's 14 top competitors here. 50 laps is a long time. 124 miles an hour is a hard pace to try to keep up. But you're going to have to run hard if you're going to win at Baltimore. If you're going to take the crown here, it's going to take that kind of top qualifying pace. We'll see what happens. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Walt. A shot of some of the crowd estimated at somewhere near 10,000 people for the weekend of racing here. As you take a look at the Hanover Street Bridge, we'll talk about the money involved. The first International Outboard Grand Prix Series, almost $500,000. Here at the site in Baltimore, Maryland, they're talking about going after a purse of some $40,000. And of course, the IOGP Points Championship Fund, $50,000 at stake there. We'll update you now on the champ boat standings with Don Johnston leading the way, Mike Seabold in second place. Rounding out our top 14, all the way down to Chuck McKay and Bill Seabold in the champ boat standings. And the drivers will also be voting in each class for the Easy Loader Sportsmanship Award. Winner to receive a trailer of his choice. Headed for the water now, Steve D'Souza, and also being lowered in, Craig Wynn. Walter mentioned this is the first time the IOGP has been here to Baltimore. What kind of problems does the driver have going to a place with a brand new course?
Chris, that's what test days are for. It allows them to get out on a new race course and size it up, both in equipment and setup. And here at Baltimore, the setup had to be a little bit different because of the radically lined up start dock where they go across the race course and the very sharp angles like around turn number 3 and the very sharp angle and closest to the start dock at turn number 4, it made a lot of setup work necessary for the crews of the different race teams here. They use a lot of acceleration, and you can see it here on this race course between turns 1 and 2.
They're going around this course 50 times, the 50-lap finals. Let's now meet the lineup for the IOGP champ boats, and these will be in alphabetical order, with our number 1 driver, Ken Davis, in boat 17, Georgia Department of Tourism, Jordan Marine.
Then Steve D'Souza, number 94, the Easy Loader, ICOM America sponsored entry.
Scott Gilman, boat 77, Boyson Engineering, Gilman Racing.
And Don Johnston, our points leader, number 21, he's the Arcadian Motor Carriers Tide sponsored entry.
Very popular driver, Art Kennedy, number 2 from St. Louis, Missouri, Sharks and Sharks, Fox Supply.
Terry Leatherby, number 91, the Hummingbird Locators, Cracker Marine sponsored entry.
Chuck McKay, Bud Light boat number 7.
Kevin Miller, number 83, one of the Castleberry Foods sponsored entries.
Mark Miller, another Castleberry Foods boat, one of the Miller brothers.
Then Bill Roscoe Jr. out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, number 25, ACC Racing.
Mike Seabold, the veteran, number 11, Bud Light.
Buck Thornton, the Buckaroo, number 8, the Castleberry Foods, Harbor Court Hotel sponsored entry.
Number 95, sponsored by Skippercraft, the driver, Michael Cumberland.
Then Mark Trotter, number 57, he's sponsored by his own company, Trotter's Outdoor World.
And winding up our lineup of 15 in the alphabetical order, Craig went number 50, Stelrec Construction, Old Quaker Paint. That's of the 15 ready to race in the champ boat finals as we come back. Park near Baltimore, Maryland. They mentioned the festive atmosphere throughout the week and great local sponsorship support as well of the International Outboard Grand Prix. You can see some of the sponsors listed here. Harbor Expo, it's in its 4th year. We mentioned the first year that the IOGP has been here with one of their big boat racing series events. But some great support from the local sponsors, always very important, Walt, as we get ready to take a look at our driver lineup by the qualifying speed times listed.
And the times were very, very quick here on the Patapsco River. Mike Seabold, number 11 at 124. Don Johnston, the points leader, at 119.9. Steve D'Souza, Easy Loader Trailers, 119.8. And Chuck McKay running this weekend for Bud Light at 118.2.
Craig Wendt has the fifth spot, 117.5. Buck Thornton is the sixth, 116.8. 116-mile-an-hour speed for Mark Trotter. Bill Roscoe Jr. just under that mark. He has the eighth spot, 115.8.
And then Art Kennedy at 114.4 out of St. Louis. Terry Leatherby at 112 miles an hour, sponsored by Tracker Marine. Scott Gilman at 111.6 in his Gilman Racing entry. And Michael Tomberlin, sponsored by Skippercraft Pontoon Boats, at 111.
Couple of the Castleberry boats, Kevin Miller and Mark Miller, the 13th and 14th spots. And rounding it out, the boat by Georgia Tourism, boat 17, Ken Davis, 104.2 miles per hour, almost a 20-mile-per-hour difference in the qualifying speed. Well, as the Tampa boats head out to the water and get ready to line up for the start, we're going to check back with an old friend of ours, Chuck McKay. Remember, at the start of the show, you saw him make his tumble in Augusta, ruining his boat. Well, he came up with another ride for this race.
Well, I guess Billy is over in Bristol running a race over there, and they called me and asked me if I'd run the boat for them this weekend, which, you know, I was real happy to do it. It was good to get back in the boat after you crash like that, like we did in Augusta.
In running a boat like this, I mean, it's a little bit unfamiliar. It's probably set up a little bit different from you. Can you explain this?
It's got a little less rest in it. It's got, you know, it's a little narrower. It seems to be able to hang out really good on the straight, down the end of the straightaway. It really seemed to be able to fly it, and it's been real fun to drive.
And it's very important for a competitor like McKay to get back in the boat again, as we see a couple of spectators getting ready for the race. And there's the boat that belongs to the man who's leading in the points, but not sitting on the pole position this weekend.
Well, nothing really any differently than we do for any other race. In Augusta, we qualified fourth. You know, qualifying second on this particular race course, it seems like the dock's fairly straight, and there really isn't a whole lot of advantage to being on the pole position. So if we can get a decent start off the dock here, we should be okay.
Don Johnston getting ready, as they're all the racers now. You saw that flare in the air, just less than a minute now to go as they go under starters' orders here to get this race underway here near Baltimore, Maryland.
And Mike Siebold pushes hard coming off the start dock, but it looks to be Don Johnston on the inside, accelerating very, very quickly. And there's number 50, Craig Wendt, coming up, and Don Johnston in the Arcadian Tide entry with Mike Siebold right in behind him.
Well, we'll be looking at that orange boat quite a bit today, I'm sure. Walt Don Johnson, as mentioned, is the champ boat points leader. That is through 3 events of the season, 700 points. Mike Siebold also giving chase, 400 points, stands in second place right now. Steve D'Souza is among those tied back in fourth place as they make the turn and head down the long straightaway.
And as the rest of the competitors are coming by, we see Don Johnston again coming off of turn number 4. He'll cross the start-finish line. There's Steve D'Souza, number 94, in behind him. Then Mike Siebold. Then Craig Wendt and Scott Gilman come by. But Don Johnston going past the Hanover Bridge, down past turn number 2, and back down the back straightaway.
Walt, this, of course, is the first time the folks in Baltimore, Maryland had a chance to see these champ boats in action. From a spectator standpoint, what should they be trying to watch to help them enjoy the competition even more?
Of course, what you've got to watch right now is the leaders, because there's a tremendous chase going on, and Don Johnston has really got it trimmed up. You can see the air underneath this boat. That's why they call them tunnel boats. The air just jammed underneath there as he trims it up. He sets it on turn 4. Look how quickly they come around the turn. Steve D'Souza behind him, and then Mike Siebold. These boats are pushing hard around that corner. There goes Art Kennedy. Behind him, Scott Gilman, then Craig Wendt, and number 91, Terry Leatherby. As the boats continue to come by, number 8, Buck Thornton.
Well, you've heard a good example of this. You've seen it here, and you've heard that these are the quickest accelerating and probably the quickest turning vehicles in the world.
That's right. They can turn harder and faster than any motor vehicle ever manufactured in the world. A couple of years ago, we put Johnny Rutherford, this great car driver, out in one of these. When he got back to the dock, he said, "Give me 4 wheels and brakes." I don't think this is very smart. But right now, leading very smartly is number 21. That is Don Johnston, but he's being chased hard. By now, Mike Siebold has slipped up around Steve D'Souza, number 94, as we see some of the crowd enjoying the races.
Well, they are enjoying it both on the shore as well as on the water now. Don Johnson continues to set the pace in that bright orange boat. Very easy for the fans to follow there. You see him snugly in those reinforced cockpits. They've been such a big factor this year in the IOGP Champ Boat Series.
Yes, those reinforced cockpits have protected a lot of the drivers this year. As Mike Siebold really becomes to come up hard, he's wide on the outside. The young man out of St. Louis, Missouri, and Don Johnston come down to corner number 4, and it's really side-by-side competition. Both of them funneling a lot of air, taking a lot of chances. Don Johnson trying to hold on the lead, and Mike Seabold trying to take it over.
You see the inside position. That obviously the most favorable line on the course. That's what Don Johnson is trying to hold as Mike Seabold continues to put the pressure on. You see the rooster tail flying in the back here. These boats hitting some top speeds up near 140 miles an hour.
And Don Johnson has really got it trimmed out as he sits there on turn number 3, and they head back down towards turn number 4. Now, Don Johnson, look at it. He's just making it walk, and Mike Seabold right in behind him. Look at Mike. He's just got it walking, and they're both pushing very, very hard.
We've heard the term several times so far, Walt, in the early going of the race, about the trim. Explain that to the folks.
Well, what the trim is the way that the driver can actually adjust the attitude of the boat. When they go to positive trim or trim the engine out, it brings the nose of the boat up. When they go to negative trim or trim the engine down, it brings the nose of the boat back down to the water. Right here in these corners, you can see them. They go to negative trim, bringing the noses down, allowing the boats to come around the corner very, very quickly. There goes Mark Trotter, number 57, and one of the Castleberry boats. Now, there is positive trim. You can see the Arcadian boat, number 21. He's got a lot of positive trim, and so does the Bud Light boat right behind him.
And you see Don Johnson again as he makes the turn around the pin, and he has it trimmed just right as he has most of the time. Hey, you see Chuck McKay, we talked about him earlier. He is in the Bud Light boat, a little bit different for Chuck, and now just out on the race course joining the race.
And then Steve D'Souza, number 94, he's the easy loader entry. He's going by there very quickly, chasing the leader. And there one more time is the bright orange Burgess boat of number 21, Don Johnson. Look at Mike Seabold. He cut right through the spray of Don Johnson. He is doing everything that he thinks humanly possible to try to catch that man in that bright orange Arcadian entry.
A lot of racing ahead of us. 50 laps here for the champ boat and for the big money here in the IOGP Series on the waters near Baltimore, Maryland. There you see number 94, Steve D'Souza. He's also giving chase. They come back. More action on the water here in Maryland.
This may look like
Crowd in Baltimore, Maryland, near 10,000 for the weekend, enjoying camp boat racing action here. The International Outboard Grand Prix. Looking out, Craig Wentz.
that's number 50, the young man out of Huntington Beach, California, as we see number 7, Chuck McKay, coming up across the field, as Steve D'Souza laying in third goes by right there. There's number 17, that's Ken Davis, George on my 9, and number 2, Art Kennedy, as Craig Wentz, number 50, the Cellrex Construction and Old Quaker Paint sponsored entry. Now there's Art Kennedy. Art has always played it by let's wait and see who's going to fall out before the end of this race game. Art Kennedy, sponsored by Sharks and Sharks Construction, he has always been a strong competitor.
Racing since the age of 8 has been a real factor in this unlimited competition for the last 20 years. Probably best known, I guess, Walt, for the fact he's been so consistent.
Yes, Art always knows it doesn't matter who leads the first lap, it's who leads the last lap. You've got to be in there when it's over, and almost every time, Art Kennedy's there when it's over.
You see the big black Mercuries on the back, those engines turning, and the RPMs have to be something really unbelievable.
And it looks like an unscheduled pit stop for number 8. That's the Castleberry entry, sponsored also by the Harbor Court Hotel of Baltimore. That's Buck Thornton there making an unscheduled pit stop.
The leader has continued to be Don Johnson through the early going here. Again, you see him there trimmed up and really moving along the straight.
And Johnson is pushing extremely hard because he's being pushed. And the man that's pushing him, that's Mike Seabold out of St. Louis, Missouri. As Art Kennedy goes down the backstretch, Kennedy continuing to stay up with the top competitors, always looking for his spot. Don Johnson coming down that backstretch. He's going between turns 2 and 3 there. He'll be going around turn number 3 right there. And look at him. He is still pushing it hard coming off that corner because behind him somewhere, and he knows very close, is number 11, Mike Seabold.
50 laps of racing action here for the champ boat, so obviously anything can happen at any moment. These guys know they just need to stay in contact here, keep chasing after the leader.
And of course, Don Johnson, number 21, being out of the lead, he has an advantage. He can pick his line. He goes where he wants to. He goes inside, outside, wherever he wants to go. There's an unscheduled pit stop again. This one for Chuck McKay this time. He got out late, and now he's back in for a pit stop.
Chuck McKay, of course, hoping to do well for that Bud Light racing team, his new ride this week, as he is pulled off for a moment. You see the action continuing, though, on the water. We touched on briefly about the engines here. The RPMs these engines are turning is amazing.
Well, number 57 right there, that's Mark Trotter out of North Charleston, South Carolina. He'll turn that engine up well over 9,000 RPM. Sometimes down the straightaways approaching 10,000 RPM.
The crowd enjoying the action here as you see number 11 there. That is Mike Seabold, the Bud Light Racing Team.
And, of course, Mike has been a super strong competitor since age 18. And when he was only 20 years old, he won the SST 120 World Championship and has moved up to bigger and better things since then.
Some of the great corporate sponsorship involved in the IOGP series here as they come around the pins again, heading down that long straightaway here in front of the spectators.
And here comes another one of the competitors by. I believe that's number 94, Steve D'Souza. Yes, it is. Young man out of Linwood, Washington.
And again, on the inside, the orange boat, Craig Wentz turns the corner there. We'll take a look at these races. They come around, back up to straightaway wall. A good chance to talk about some of the different configuration of hulls on these camp boats.
Well, some of these boats, some are built wider, some are built narrower. Some are built to trap more and fly higher. Now, like the boat built right there, that's called a Fresnel Flyer, built by Lee Fresnel in New York. The one right there, that's the Burgess of our leader. That's Don Johnston, the Arcadian Tide Entry. That boat runs flat, but comes off the corners. You can see jump very high, trapping a lot of air quickly, then laying back down. There's one of the Castleberry entries. That was built by the Miller brothers. It runs very flat off the corners. There's number 94, Steve D'Souza. He's running one of the Mercury-powered Seabold hulls. Seabolds have been characteristic to come off the corners and jump real hard to accelerate very, very quickly.
Good look at Steve D'Souza right now. 18 years experience in this game. This man really pushes hard.
And, of course, D'Souza has the advantage of not only having the mirrors that allow him to see behind him. One of his sponsors, ICOM America, he's got a radio on. So his crew chief has been sitting there telling him, Steve, where he's at, what he should do. And, of course, I'm not sure he always pays attention, but he is being told.
On the water, it's in the hands of the drivers on this shore. They need a lot of support. This Mercury Outboard Performance Update gives you a chance to find out more about the support they get. Walt?
Mercury's commitment to performance is more than just building the engine. They bring over $250,000 rig to every race. The finest in both technical equipment and technical expertise. As you can see, a full load of engines. Those are for people that want to lease an engine rather than buy and build their own. Also, a complete collection of props. They're available for all of the classes from Mod VP all the way up through Champ. Gear cases, the best built by Mercury and brought along on the truck. There's some of the technical expertise they bring along to show these drivers exactly how to make them run the best.
And back on the Patapsco River now, here near Baltimore, Maryland. The leader continues to be number 21, the Arcadia Motor Carrier Tide Special. That is Don Johnston. And again, still giving chase is Mike Seabold.
And Seabold right in there behind him, unable to have the leader's line. That's where the leader is able to choose where he wants to go. Mike Seabold behind him has got to decide, do I pick inside, do I pick outside? Which way can I get around him?
Strategy, always important in every competitive event. A lot of strategy here on the water today.
Of course, the strategy when you're in the lead is to take the quickest way around the race course. If you're doing like Mike Seabold back there, number 11, you've got to try to outguess the leader. Is he going to go inside this time? Is he going to go outside? Which way should I go? So it makes being in the lead an easier strategy position than being back in second, third, or fourth.
How concerned are they, for instance, Paul, about the water conditions, the surface of the water? How can that affect these tunnel flows?
Well, it's going to affect them tremendously because the fact that the front of the boat is still riding on the water and part of it's riding on the air. So the part that's riding on the water can be terribly affected by the water conditions. It makes them bounce. It makes them dump air out of the tunnel. It makes them leak. And also, the boat will not perform quite as well if the water is very rough.
There's Chuck McKay's boat. He's had some disappointments. We kind of chronicled his story for you. He flew over in Augusta, ruined his boat, had a chance to get in one of the Bud Light boats, and still having his problems here this afternoon. No problems, meanwhile, for the leader. Continues to be that Arcadia Motor Carriers Tide boat as they continue to give chase to another Bud Light team member, Mike Seabold.
And Seabold has been filling up the rearview mirrors of Don Johnston all afternoon as that hard charger from St. Louis is looking for a way around the young man out of Lakeview Terrace, California. The retired sheriff's deputy doing all he can to keep the professional powerboat driver out of St. Louis, Mike Seabold, out of his way. And Mike is coming up right beside him. It is a drag race down to turn number 4. They are very, very, very close.
Well, excitement on the water, but for some, there has to be, of course, disappointment. We talked already about Chuck McKay, hoping to get his opportunity. This man sees disappointment on his face.
I wanted to get back in and race because I crashed last weekend and I want to get back in and and do it. I guess it isn't there. Oh yeah, we got a new boat. It's gonna be ready for Sacramento. We're gonna be in Sacramento here in a couple of weeks. So just was looking forward to running this and trying to represent the Bud Light crew well while Billy was away, and if it wasn't to be.
One good thing about the sport, there's always another race. We'll be back with more action from Maryland.
Bow bow to bow and stern to stern. It has been a fight between these two. It has been all out, all around the race course.
Don has been able to hold on with that inside line. We have seen Mike Seabold try to go outside, try to cut inside. It looks like he has some speed now, though, as he again gets pushed wide again on the turn.
He had to take it wide because Don Johnson had the inside, but here he comes. Mike Seabold, he is really pouring on the power, and he goes up, and they go down towards turn number 4. But still, Don Johnson on the inside, but Mike Seabold able to take him on that turn. Number 11, Michael Seabold, came out of the turn, accelerated hard, and put the hammer down with that Mercury-powered Seabold.
And now Mike, of course, has that clear water we talked about so much, and that gives him quite an advantage.
And you saw Mike took the inside that time, and now Don Johnson, if he's going to get back around him, he has to figure out what Mike Seabold's going to do.
That's the battle again for first place. Competition continues, though, back in the pack as well. We've seen many of these folks, they call them back blockers, those guys battling for position, hoping that something might happen to the leader up front. Maybe a way, something that just doesn't quite work for them will give them the opportunity to move up. And one of those guys pushing hard right now, 83, Kevin Miller.
Kevin, sponsored by Castleberry Foods out of Augusta, Georgia, has been a strong competitor, a young man out of Niceville, Florida. As he continues to chase like all other 14 competitors, the leader on the field, number 11, Mike Seabold, Bud Light Racing, challenging for 20 laps before he took over the lead.
Let's take a break away now from some of the racing action. One of the big parts of Harbor Expo, the giant fireworks display, put on by the famous Crucci family. Donna Crucci Butler tells us more about it.
Everything is double wired. Firework goes into the mortar tube. One end is hooked to a ground, one end is hooked to a web, which comes back through this cable, gets hooked into the side of this panel. When it comes showtime, power switch is put on. Technician sits here. He hears the cue. He's wearing headsets, and he'll be hearing fire 1, fire 2, and fire 3, and all he needs to do at this point is go down the keyboard here and press his button.
We'll be seeing some of their works a bit later. The fireworks will bright and nice. By the way, big shows coming up in August 3rd in Seattle, August 13th in Chicago, San Francisco, October 22nd. They put on 24-minute shows. They've done shows at Statue of Liberty, the Brooklyn Bridge Centennial, Winter and Summer Olympic Games. They are the best. Great action above, but meanwhile, great action on the water as well.
And the best out there this afternoon is number 11. That's Mike Seabold in the Bud Light Racing out of St. Louis, Missouri. There goes Terry Leatherby, number 91. And right behind him is the leader. Mike Seabold, number 11, is number 57. The Mark Trotter's boat was there on the outside. Coming on the inside, there's your second place boat, number 21, Don Johnston. And then there is number 17. That's Mike Tomberlin.
They're really churning up the water now as we move near the halfway mark of our 50-lap feature here, the Temp Boat Finals here in Maryland.
94, Steve D'Souza coming by. He's laying in third position. And there's number 77, Scott Gilman, the young man out of Anaheim Hills, California, sponsored by Gilman Racing and Boyson Engineering. 94, Steve D'Souza, easy loader. Right behind him, 17. That's the Georgia Tourism boat of Ken Davis. Gilman Racing takes in there behind him. Scott Gilman last year had a tough year, but this year he's coming back very, very strong. He was an off-road racer, a professional motorcycle racer, and now in the professional powerboat rank. And speaking of pros, there is a strong one right there, number 94, Steve D'Souza. His easy loader, ICOM America, also sponsored this weekend by Coastal Marine Distributors, is a very, very strong competitor.
You mentioned dancing along the water. There's a good shot of it there. You saw the orange boat, number 50 of Craig Wendt. Again, turning the corner quickly, Scott Gilman, 77.
Of course, Gilman and Wendt, very close friends. There's number 17, Ken Davis. He picked up that Georgia Tourism sponsorship 2 years ago.
Fans enjoying the racing action here. There's a good-looking fan on the shore right now. Meanwhile, he's following the action of Steve D'Souza, number 94. Walty's been very consistent, pretty much hung in third throughout the first part of the races here.
Yeah, D'Souza has been shadowing the two leaders. As Mike Seabold and Don Johnston fought it out, it was D'Souza who was sitting back there going, you boys make one mistake and I'm going to be all over you like a duck on a June bug.
And it doesn't take long in this sport, of course. Just a second or so of one bad turn, one bad move, and you can be from first all the way back to the back of the pack. And they continue to put the pressure on.
And number 17 goes by, and then there's your leader, number 11. That is Mike Seabold. Seabold fought hard to get the lead that he's got, and he's done an excellent job of holding on to it so far.
We've reached just about the halfway mark. The Champ Boat Finals will continue from Maryland right after this. At speeds that can reach over 130. where the wind is really picked up. One of the big inflatable sponsor buoys being blown through the parking lot. Our concern, though, for the men on the water. Walt Yarbrough, what effect does a high wind have on these races?
Well, the effect it's going to have on the leader is that he's going to have to decide how hard he can push it. But believe me, Don Johnson, number 21, he's going to push it probably as hard as he ever has to try to catch up with Mike Sebo. Mike took the lead away from him. We're here in the second half of the race, and Mike Sebo has begun to stretch it out.
Competition continuing behind Mike Sebo, though. Here's one of them making a chase. Terry Leatherby, boat number 91, the Tracker Marine Hummingbird locator boat.
And Leatherby takes it through the corner, and look out, Terry! He just barrel rolled it coming off of corner number 4. He was pushing hard, trying to move up through the field, and that's what will happen when you push as hard as Terry Leatherby has been pushing all afternoon, trying to move up.
Terry looks to be in good shape, though, as he is up, standing up in the boat now in that reinforced capsule that, again, has been such a big factor in the IOGP Series. And there very quickly come the Achilles rescue boats and the Chattanooga Stars rescue team. You see the red flag waving as they stop the race right now.
And, of course, Terry Leatherby was strapped down into that reinforced cockpit on his Starship 1 hull. He was able to go right through the action with the boat, unstrap himself, stand up. Now, of course, the Chattanooga Stars, the official rescue team of the International Outboard Grand Prix, they'll take him out of that. They'll lay him down in that basket. Every driver must be put in there. His head will be secured to make sure that there's no problems. They'll fasten him in the basket and take him to shore. That way he'll be checked over by the medical officers to make sure there are no problems.
Here's another look at it, and Walt explains what happened to Terry Leatherby.
He comes running into the turn. He seems to come a little far past the turn, tries to turn back into it just a little too much. The boat caught a little air and hooked and rolled right over.
The race stopped immediately. One of the big problems, the boat was still on the course, and the mind of the officials in a dangerous area just exiting turn 4 there, as you see, the Achilles rescue boat bringing Terry Leatherby in, and the good news is he is okay. Walt, that always shakes you up, though, as we're getting ready for a restart. It'll be in the positions when they stop the race.
And, of course, it will be Mike Seabold in the Bud Light out in front. Don Johnston, he'll be in number 2 position. Steve D'Souza still back there in that 3rd position, and Craig Wentz moved up to 4th.
Starting in the 5th spot in the restart, Art Kennedy. Then it's Bill Roscoe Jr., ACC Marine, Scott Gilman of Gilman Racing, 7, and Mark Trotter, Trotter's Outdoor World, will start in the 8th position. That's boat number 57.
Starting in 9th will be Kevin Miller, part of the Castleberry's racing team, and his brother Mark Miller, Castleberry Foods, then Ken Davis and Michael Tomberlin, Skippercraft Pontoon Boat sponsors.
That's how they'll restart. Meanwhile, back on the shore, Terry Leatherby. Let's find out just what happened to him.
Terry, what happened out there?
Picked it up on one of the off weights from either Art or Michael there, and it just hit it through the turn and flipped over.
Terry's in good shape. We're ready for a restart, and there's a lot of tension on a restart, of course.
Of course, Mike Seabold had stretched out that lead. Now, that lead's all gone. It's disappeared. They're all back to dead even. If you were on the same lap with the leader, now you've got a shot at him one more time. This gives Don Johnston a chance. It gives Steve D'Souza a chance, and Mike Seabold's got to reach out there and go after it.
So they come roaring again off the start dock, just as we had to begin this race some 30 laps ago. And now, as Walt said, it begins all over. You have to earn your lead once again.
And it looks like number 94, Steve D'Souza, has begun making that lead up towards the front. This gave him an opportunity he'd been looking for. He'd been laying back in 3rd position all afternoon, and now he's got the chance for the restart and a chance to go for it. And there goes the man out of Linwood, Washington, with Roscoe, number 25, right beside him.
Steve D'Souza taking advantage of the restart. He's always said his boat runs better half full. You might explain that, Walt.
Well, of course, as the weight of the fuel goes down, as they burn off that fuel load at about 7.5 pounds to the gallon, they're using about 30 gallons to the hour. So as he burns it off, it actually lightens the boat and allows it to perform somewhat differently than it does under a full fuel load.
Steve D'Souza, number 94, the Easy Loader Racing Team, and now he has the lead thanks in large part to the restart.
And, of course, on that restart, he was able to accelerate off the beach and come very, very hard out into the front of the race. Of course, his boat running a lighter fuel load now, he's able to accelerate much quicker. But D'Souza, knowing he's out in front, look how he takes those turns. He is diving hard. Believe me, you love being out front.
What kind of G-forces are we talking about as they take those turns? How much pressure on these drivers and on this boat?
About 4.5 Gs as they slam them through those corners. Because remember, they're coming down those straightaways at 140 miles an hour. They hit that down button, trim that boat down, and slam it around those corners. And about 4.5 times their own body weight slams into them those corners.
There you see the big Mercury Power engine pushing along Steve D'Souza, the Easy Loader Racing boat, number 94, as he continues to build on his lead here.
Of course, that 2-liter engine. Oh, look at Don Johnson. He has taken all the chances in the world there are to take as he tries to regain that lead.
On the shore, Ken Youngblood. He is the crew chief for the Gilman Racing Team. He's timing the laps of 77, Scott Gilman.
And look at Craig Wendt, number 50, as he slammed it through turn number 4 with Gilman right in behind him. There comes number 11, Mike Siebold. He's coming out from an unscheduled pit stop, a very unhappy young man.
Well, he should be, Walt. He led this race for 8 laps. Again, it shows you there's not a lot of difference between first and almost no place in this kind of competition.
But Steve D'Souza, number 94, the Easy Loader team, look at Steve. He knows he's got the lead, and he's going to try to stretch it out as a very disappointed Mike Siebold heading back towards the crane. The distance between first and last, very short.
So Mike Siebold is out. Chuck McKay, also the Bud Light team, earlier went out. And the man that now is on the water and on top is Steve D'Souza, number 94. As you see, heading for the trailer. We'll be back with more racing action. Competition of the International Outboard Grand Prix. We're going to join the action here on lap 33 of the 50-lap Champ Boat Final. Chris Lincoln along with Walt Yarborough, and welcome back to Baltimore.
And now we see Craig Webb, number 50, the old Baker Paint sponsored entry, as he continues to charge his way up through the field, working very, very hard at trying to get a good, solid finish here at Baltimore.
Well, just before we went away for the commercial break, you saw Mike Siebold heading to the trailer. His Bud Light boat number 11 finished for the day. Let's join there with Mike Siebold now and find out what happened to him.
It's just so aggravating. You know, I worked that hard to get in front, and then somebody crashes and get a restart, and my boat filled up with water because Don and I was responsible when I was battling out for him, you know, with them. And
now, a picture of frustration. Mike Siebold, he led this race for 8 laps. Now, of course, he's on the sidelines just watching here as the action continues on the water. He looked just mentally and physically drained.
Well, it is. It's tough on the driver when he has to take that kind of workout and then not be able to regain that lead on the restart.
And the action continues on the water. This is Craig Wendt, number 50, a guy with a very colorful background.
And, of course, Craig Wendt, who was a world record holder in speed skiing, also involved in Mod VP racing. This is his second year in Formula Grand Prix Champ Racing, and he is pushing super hard, working his way up through the field. That beautiful, bright orange, number 50. And there's your leader, number 94, Steve D'Souza. As D'Souza goes past the Hanover Bridge and back down the long backstretch towards turn number 3.
Craig Wendt running in second place behind him. Art Kennedy currently running in third place behind him. Then Bill Roscoe Jr. and Don Johnson listed as 4th and 5th. You might see them a little closer up in the competition, but actually they're a lap back.
Well, what happened on the restart, Bill Roscoe Jr. out of Pittsburgh, he was a lap down on the field. And just a moment ago, we got notice from the judges' stand that pushing incident that happened on the straightaway that Mike Siebold talked about, for that, Don Johnson, Arcadian Motor Carriers, he was issued a 1-lap penalty, which puts him a lap down on the field.
So the veteran Art Kennedy right now running hard, running in third place. One of the senior men on this circuit showing a lot of experience here.
Art Kennedy's one of the drivers that understands it ain't over till it's over, so he's always pushing, trying to get up to the front of the field. There goes Bill Roscoe Jr. out of Pittsburgh. He's a lap down and trying to make up ground. As Art Kennedy running back in third position right now, still sitting, watching, and waiting for someone else to make a mistake.
What's it like to be behind one of the wheels of these Champ boats? What's it like to be on the water going almost 140 miles an hour? Here's some of the impressions from our leader right now, Steve D'Souza.
I just love the feeling, the experience of the acceleration, the way they turn. Very few times, I'm sure everybody at one point or another as a driver has been scared with something that happens while they're racing or something like that, but that doesn't happen all that often. And just the sheer enjoyment of driving one of these boats, and of course now that the sport is growing and the commercial sponsors are getting better, it's just that much more fun to be involved with.
Now the excitement's building for that young man, Steve D'Souza. He is the leader right now here in Baltimore at the Maryland Budget Grand Prix Champ Final.
And Don Johnson out there on the course, he doesn't know he's 1 lap behind because his team owner, Jim Hallenstein, he hasn't gotten the word, and Don Johnson still pushing hard, trying to overcome Steve D'Souza.
Don Johnson, who is our leader for so much of this race, in fact, led for 21 laps. He has been a boat driver since the age of 14.
And at 27 years old, that's nearly half his lifetime. But many of the strong young drivers are now beginning to show up on the International Outboard Grand Prix circuit, and there's one of them right there. That's number 25, Bill Roscoe, in the Coors Light ACC Marine sponsored entry.
Some of those still battling for position here. You see our leader, Steve D'Souza, behind him, still giving this chase. We've already talked about some of these drivers. Scott Gillings, he's 17. There goes Ken Davis right now. Terry Leatherby, of course, is out. Chuck McKay is out. Mike Seabold is out. Buck Thornton still in the run. Michael Tomberlin, Mark Miller, Mark Trotter, all giving chase to our leader, Steve D'Souza.
And D'Souza is doing everything he can to hold on to that super strong lead that he's been able to build up ever since that restart. And there's number 73, that's Mike Tomberlin, as he goes by, and your leader, number 94, Steve D'Souza, comes by. Number 21, Don Johnson, he's coming by, still chasing, not knowing is a lap down. There's number 87, that's Mark Miller. He's out of Niceville, Florida. He and his brother Kevin racing on the International Outdoor Grand Prix circuit this year, picking up that sponsorship from the fine people of Castleberry Foods. They're very strong competitors.
Mark Miller currently running in 9th position. His brother Kevin Miller running in 7th position. Kevin, a 7-year veteran of the sport. Mark Miller, now in his 6th year, just 27 years old, has raced in both SST 140 class and the Champ Class.
And this afternoon, he's out there running very well in the Formula Grand Prix Champ Class. You can see that boat corners, comes around those corners very flat and very hot. The Miller boys, they build their own boats, but their engines are 122 cubic inch electronically fuel-injected Mercury.
We're under 10 laps to the finish. Steve D'Souza, number 94, leads the way. Craig Wendt running in 2nd place. Art Kennedy 3rd. We'll be back with our final lap here in Maryland. Budget Grand Prix. The spectators on the shore, they seem pretty relaxed, but that's not the case out on the water. The drivers pushing hard. You see there the boat of number 21, Don Johnson. He had been a leader for 21 laps. Now he is chasing the leading boat, Steve D'Souza.
Because he's got an entire lap to make up. He was issued a 1-lap penalty from the judges' stand. He doesn't know it out there. He's still trying to catch Steve D'Souza. What he doesn't know is he's got to catch him, go all the way back around, and catch him again.
Walt, physically, what kind of toll is this taking on the drivers now as we're into the final few laps?
Well, with the new reinforced cockpits, it's no longer the physical toll that it takes on these drivers. They're strapped in there very tight and able to operate the boats well. What now is happening is the mental fatigue, that mental concentration. You take Don Johnson. He fought it out for 21 laps with Michael Seabold. He is terribly mentally fatigued. The restart, it gave Steve D'Souza the opportunity to jump out front. Only for a short number of laps since the restart has D'Souza had to make those leaders' decisions. And he's been able to get far enough out in front to where he has not been challenged and pushed, but he still has to concentrate to make sure that boat runs well and fast.
And at these final laps, the drivers are starting to hear again those strange sounds, wondering, will the boat hold again? There's Craig Wendt, number 50. What a story he has been. We saw early on where he had crashed in Augusta, has battled back now, and is fighting right now for the 2nd position behind Steve D'Souza.
Of course, Craig Wendt, again, coming off a Speed King and Mod VP background, knows what it is to fight for the top. And that's what he's doing right now. That beautiful bright orange boat pushing as hard as he can. And right now there's Don Johnson, their Acadian Tide boat. He thinks that he is behind Don Johnson. He figures he's in 3rd right now because Craig Wendt, he didn't know about that 1-lap penalty either.
The man who is currently running 3rd, though, is Art Kennedy, boat number 2, Sharks and Sharks, Fox Appliance and Parts out of St. Louis, Missouri.
And Art Kennedy running very well out on the race course, running that Mercury-powered Seabold very smoothly as he sets up for turn number 4 and brings it around that turn.
The final few laps of racing here. The spectators seem very relaxed, enjoying the sun. It's been absolutely beautiful weather here in the Baltimore area. The action on the water continues at a torrid pace. Steve D'Souza continues to push his boat, realizing that he's just a matter of laps away from seeing that white flag, then one more lap, and finally what he's been working for, the checkered flag.
Believe me, his crew chief, Mike Shopsky's on the radio to him saying, Steve, keep that hammer down, keep it right side up, let's keep running. We're counting down the laps to you. We have a big lap counter out on the course. They can see what laps they're on, but I guarantee you his crew chief on the ICOM radio is keeping him informed exactly where he's at on the race course.
It would seem a natural tendency, Walt, though, to let up a little bit. You know you're in the lead, and you just take a break, not push it enough to take a chance in not being able to finish the race.
Well, that's the difference between a winner and a also ran, is the winner is able to keep up that mental concentration, able to keep things in line, able to continue to run hard even though he knows he's ahead.
And even those that are in the back muckers, as they're known in the sport, they continue to push too, hoping that somewhere they might find a break in these final few laps. It looks like Steve D'Souza is running awfully smooth right now.
Well, D'Souza is a very smooth driver, and of course his boat's set up to run extremely well towards the end of the race. His crew, the Easy Loader crew, sets that boat up to run better on a light fuel load than on a heavy fuel load. Because if mistakes are going to happen, they'll happen later on the race when that metal concentration does begin to break down.
He said that always has been a factor. His boat always handles better at about half fuel. There it is. The white flag is out. One more time around. One final lap of 50 to see the checkered flag.
And believe me, this is the longest mile and a quarter Steve D'Souza has faced since his finish last year in Davenport, where he was able to win there. D'Souza, believe me, has got his teeth gripped. He's got his hands wrapped around the steering wheel very, very tight. And just now, a smile is beginning to come on his face as he begins to go up to turn number 3. He'll bring it off at turn 3, down towards turn number 4. And when he comes off turn number 4, that's when that checkered flag will come out. That's what he's been working for.
And you see through the spray, Steve D'Souza, who is now on the 21st lap of his lead. And there it is, the checkered flag. The hand goes in the air, and Steve D'Souza picks up 400 big points by winning this Champ Boat event here in Baltimore, Maryland. He came into the event tied for 4th place with 225 points. That'll jump him all the way up, Walt, to 2nd place in the season standing, 625 in the IOGP Series, right behind Don Johnston with 827.
And, of course, there's number 50, Craig Wendt. It looks like he lost his back cowl out there somewhere towards the end of the race. And, of course, Wendt has the number 50 right on his nose, so he is able to be scored under APBA rules. The large number must be visible somewhere on the boat, so it will be legally scored.
Well, the crew out to pick up the cowling there. He won't need it anymore, though, today, as it's all over. And there are some of the happy crew members of the Easy Motor Racing team of Steve D'Souza from Augusta, Georgia, with the checkered flag held high. Let's take a look now at the final standings. Steve D'Souza, number 94, 110.6 his average speed. Easy Loader, the sponsor. Craig Wendt, Old Quaker Paint, his second. Art Kennedy, Fox Appliance and Parts, third. Bill Roscoe Jr., ACC Marine, finishing fourth.
Don Johnston finishing 5th at 109.7. Scott Gilman in 6th at 106.9. Kevin Miller finishing 7th. And Mark Trotter out of North Charleston, South Carolina, he finished 8th.
Mark Miller, one of the Miller brothers, number 87, finishing 9th at Castleberry. Ken Davis, the Georgia Tourism Boat, is 10th. Michael Tobel in 73, and Skippercraft Buck Thornton from Castleberry Foods Boat, number 8, finished in 12th position.
And it did not finish for Mike Seabold, Terry Leatherby, and Chuck McKay. Of course, you saw Leatherby go out with the barrel roll.
Steve D'Souza now gets that cherished victory lap. You see him there with the checkered flag and all the work, all the preparation